How's it going, guys, and welcome back to BL3's Forgotten, the series where I take a look at underused and not often talked about pieces of gear to determine whether or not they deserve to be remembered within the modern meta of the game or should be left behind and forgotten. And today we are taking a look at the R.Y.N.A.H. If you like to farm the R.Y.N.A.H for yourself, it's a bit of an interesting one, as this is actually a dedicated drop from loot enemies, meaning loot psychos or tanks, or my personal favorite method is the thieving jabbers. What I find to be the best way to farm these enemies is by fast traveling over to the Wayward Tether to take on the Trial of Instinct. If you haven't already, I would recommend beating it at least once, as the way you're going to farm for the R.Y.N.A.H is just taking on the first section, clearing out all the jabbers until the door opens, and then safe quitting out to reset the arena. If you don't at least beat it once, the Guardian is gonna yap for a good minute each time you go to run it. But each run should net you a decent amount of thieving jabbers, and it shouldn't take you too long to get yourself a R.Y.N.A.H. The R.Y.N.A.H is a legendary Torgue rocket launcher, only coming in radiation, having completely locked parts, and always firing 2 projectiles per shot for 8 ammo cost. After charging, the R.Y.N.A.H will shoot out slow-moving energy orbs, which explode on impact with an enemy or surface. While traveling through the air, these orbs will link to all nearby enemies and continually deal radiation damage to them. After 3 seconds, or when the initial projectile impacts something, the main orb will explode and launch missiles towards all linked targets. The link damage itself does not deal splash damage, but all other damage is splash. The R.Y.N.A.H has received a buff, however, I don't know if it really counts, because it got this buff the same patch that it was officially added into the game. I mean, it was in the game previously, but it had to be data mined, and it didn't actually drop from anything. When the R.Y.N.A.H was eventually added to loot pools, it also received a reduction to its reload time by 37.5% and an increase to its weapon damage by 33%. The R.Y.N.A.H has an insane amount of damage packed into a single shot, so much so that I honestly understand it consuming 8 rocket ammo per shot. The base damage per projectile is already pretty damn insane, being higher than a majority of the base damage of other rocket launchers as is. Combined, these 2 projectiles have a higher base damage than the Freeman, Nukem, and Ion Cannon, and only slightly lower than that of the Kick Charger. Now, of course, all of those take less ammo than the R.Y.N.A.H, with most of them only being 1. What the R.Y.N.A.H has on top of that, though, is absolutely crazy AoE on it. This weapon is not only going to nuke what you pointed at, but it's going to flatten anything that dares even look at it and give everything else within a 6-mile radius turbo cancer. The R.Y.N.A.H makes you feel like a US president with a children's hospital in their crosshairs and a cigarette in their secretary's pussy. Can I leave that in? And holy fuck, is the weapon design here just satisfying as all hell. It is just a legendary lump, but the lump is easily one of my favorite weapons to use purely because of the 1-2 kaboom wombo combo that it gives. Having that initial projectile explode with a slight delay as other projectiles travel along those chains, watching as every connected enemy is sent straight to Osiris to have their heart weighed against a feather at the exact same time, it's fucking beautiful. But, elephant in the room, while I do understand why this consumes 8 rocket ammo, that doesn't change the fact that it is still consuming 8 rocket ammo. That is just simply not sustainable for literally any character in this game. Moze and Flak, of course, have ways to mitigate it somewhat, but even then, you're still gonna be running out of ammo here no matter what. It is just unavoidable. And with that, I do have to say that to effectively run this weapon for even a somewhat extended period of time, you're gonna need a cut purse launch pad. The R.Y.N.A.H is, of course, to just carry around in your backpack and whip out here and there without it, but if you want to clear an entire mobbing section with the R.Y.N.A.H itself, the cut purse is absolutely necessary. Bonus projectiles are also, of course, massive with this weapon, adding another main projectile, which just means another set of chains to hook onto nearby enemies, which of course is just more damage going out to those poor saps that get linked. Along with that, amp damage is also fantastic, as it will apply to all of the the damage that these projectiles deal. Overall though, I'm honestly not sure if I can say that the R.Y.N.A.H is a good gun, purely because while the ammo cost is again understandable, it is astronomical. But at the same time, this is a gun that can absolutely wipe an entire group of enemies in an instant while also being fun as fuck and wildly satisfying to use, even somewhat arousing at times. This is definitely in the middle ground. It's a great gun in functionality, but it suffers heavily from the drawbacks that it does have. But even with those drawbacks, it is incredibly fun to use, and I have to give a big ol' recommendation to anyone who hasn't touched this thing. Nothing hits the dopamine receptors quite like watching the R.Y.N.A.H do its thing. But that's gonna about do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all that. I'll be live right after this video goes up, right here on YouTube and also over on my Twitch channel, where there'll be a link to down in the description below. And just under that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.